All right. So where were we? Okay. Okay. So we grab all of the data flows, make them data flow as ticked. Okay. Then we merge them all together. Inputs. So this is the original flow. Data flow to be overlaid. So we make this data flow to be overlaid. So we turn this data flow into to be overlaid into a dict, and then oh, let's actually, so we turn this data flow into be overlaid into a dict, and then we say data flow as dict, and then we grab all of the data flows which are produced, um, and when we're done with that, we grab so when we pass that as a definition, data flow is dict name. So if we pass this new type in here, so I don't like this. To don't love this, allow for passing a definition or new type correctly, possibly have overlay which does auto conversions. Maybe even default installed. All right, so we should really only pass the data types that are supposed to be passed and then let the overlays figure out the rest of it. Because we shouldn't be adding in, a bunch of um, functional behavior with the data without ensuring that it happens in the data flow. Okay, so if we wanted to, so we would just pass data flow stick result when complete. We'll just pass data flow stick. Um, okay, so data flow stick passed as a value. Okay, now maybe let's just leave this whole thing off. Maybe data flows method, the data flows class will fix this. Uh, to do type conversions done as overlays when creating data flow as class methods, question mark. Right, so maybe when we do our data flow as class and we do the synthesis to the data flow class, we apply overlays, which mean that the resulting data flows class that's created, runs a data flow which will do type conversions and basically assume that the input may be, one of several types, right? So, okay, so, and to allow for this more convenient passing of values, right? But it will still get the visibility that it's happening. So, okay, so format, define, okay. So data flow stick, definition data flow. Okay, so grab that. Okay, so take the data flow to be overlaid, turn it into a dictionary, um, merge all the other data flows into it, and then so merge, take the data flow, turn it into a dictionary, the input data flow, merge all the other data flows that were created into it by the other output, by the other overlays that run, um, and then grab that, grab that um, definition. I don't even know if we need this nested. So what happens now? Okay, this version not defined. All right. So now we can try to just run this data flow. So we'll try running a data flow here. Um, and so what are we doing? So we're saying that all of the CLI commands will get run as if they were operations within data flows. And so we're just running a little simple data flow within the Alice version command um, to load. So import lib metadata. All right, so we're going to look and import lib metadata. We're going to grab the version information. All right, we're going to grab the version information of Alice, and we're going to return it as this Alice version, and then we're going to call the get output. This is all just like, I mean, this is like a nothing flow, right? So this says input a value that's the version, right? And then the output says um, um, basically grab, whatever this operation says, hey, run get single, right? And tell get single to grab me the Alice version, the definition that says Alice version, any values by that or one value by that, because it's get single. And so there's only one value in there. It's this one, which we just added as an input, and we're just going to grab that out, right? So and maybe we'll do this here. Right? Who knows? Okay. Try. We're gonna give our little try import lib.metadata as All right, so this is for the non-Python 3.9, and before compatibility layer, we have to import lib metadata as a slightly different situation here. Import lib metadata. Alice version command, or Alice version CLI. All right, so run is actually dfml.run, but this should apply our overlays for us. Oh, and we should say, to do, make sure that we can grab overlays from parent flow if running within a top level flow. Okay, always if running within another flow as a subflow, always use parent overlays when creating a new data flow. So we should modify run data flow or subflow or whatever. Probably subflow. All right, we can also grab or what else? Okay, print results. Coroutine object has no attribute apply. Okay, overlay. Okay. Oh, that's right, and this was wrong, so. Yeah, that's right, we're splitting that out too. Okay. Let's remove all this from now. Or we don't have to necessarily remove it yet. Okay, so default apply overlay adaptive. Okay, overlay.apply, overlay.default. Let's see what it is. So overlay coroutine object overlay default. Okay. So that got turned into a coroutine somehow. So async default. Okay, let's leave that as a coroutine, yeah. Because we may have to load that. And maybe we should, maybe. All right, object overlay has no attribute load. We'll see about that. It's an, oh, okay, so let's make it an entry point as well. Okay. Okay, from dict. Okay. Let's see what this thing is that it's complaining about. Okay, a bunch of blank stuff. Okay, there's nothing in kwargs. Okay, so where are we is the key. So let's say we should be able to do log debug, and we should be presented with plenty of error or logging. So okay, so memory orchestrator, merge, key error operation. So what it's saying is it got no plugins installed. All right, let's try reinstalling. We can check what's up with. All right, so it's this list, so it'll show up in here. Overlay. Merge is not defined. Okay, so now it grabbed it. So yeah, so the previous thing, it wasn't installed. Okay, so now it's installed. Now we're seeing a different error. Merge is not defined. That's an easy one. All right, so, and what can we do here? So we can actually so default. Here we go. Okay, so run the default flow. Default main package overlay. So basically run this default flow. Data flow to be overlaid. So for the default flow, what we want to do is we want to come in and we want to run this thing, and we want to this looks right now. This data flow looks correct. Okay, so we want to take the data flows to be overlaid. We want to put them as data flow as dict. We want to merge them all together. Finally, once they're merged all together, we want to grab them and output them as overlaid. Okay, so apply Now runs overlay. So apply runs. So default runs this thing. Okay, default runs this thing. Okay. Lazy import to avoid circular reference issues. Okay, no lazy imports. Okay, so I don't like the dependency on get single in here, but I think it's okay for now. Okay, let's move this into overlay and then so T-A overlay that. Okay. Okay, now here's this. So what we do, we wrote this. I don't know, this is so for initial overlay. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, type, okay. Overlay, okay. Okay, op, data flow, input definition, get single remap. Okay, util data merge, data flow op. Okay, data flow is dict. Okay, this is making it a little cleaner. Overlay data flow. This doesn't get used, yeah, okay. All right. Rerun our install with our updated entry point. Okay, so now we run Crap. Uh, right, so this here, so okay, so this entry points overlay, right? So we see this got updated to overlay.overlay instead of overlay.dfml. Okay, so run. Okay, here we have a problem. Okay, so default. Okay, so this we need an orchestrator. So we need an orchestrator. Okay, so this is an orchestrator. So this thing needs an orchestrator. It can't run if it doesn't have an orchestrator. Okay, there we go. Now we fixed our problem of not sure whether we should pass the orchestrator or not. We know that we have to pass the orchestrator because if we don't, we end up with a circular reference. So to run. So let's pass the orchestrator, right? So we can now have data flow to be overlaid, data flow to be overlaid, data flow is dict, okay. Goes through there, goes through merge, okay. All right. Okay. All right, now we can check out high level data flow and we can say, we can pass the orchestrator. Okay, data flow is not defined. Okay, so overlay default. All right, so we'll just do data flow. So we create a blank data flow to be overlaid. So from dict must be mapping, not data flow. Let's see, so where are we? Okay. Memory orchestrator context initial data flow. So initialize data flow. So we're in the default orchestrator spin up, and it's mad because it wants a dict, not a data flow. Okay, so I think it's because this configs. Okay, so we have an issue with configs right now where, let's see, so df base, okay, 441. Okay, so if there's a from dict on the config class, um, let's just see where we're at here. All right, so config. All right, so remap config. So remap config has this data flow parameter. So config dict. Okay, so we call from dict. Let's step into from dict. Um, uh, all right, let's look in here. Okay, so this is doing a direct conversion, which it should not be doing. Okay, so all right. So only convert, obviously, if we have a data flow to be converting here. Um, all right, operation output remap config. Do not convert already instances of data flow into data flow instance. Do not check if dict first before running conversion. All right, we'll push that up. Okay, what do we, yeah, I don't trust this thing anymore. Why does it keep telling me that it's not? Where are we? I don't trust this thing. It's okay, we'll just do, what time? All right, so we'll push up this. We'll push up this. Okay. All right, let's see what happens there. All right, Matadus, data flow to dict, output operations, key error operations. Okay, so, okay. Okay, so, where is it? Operation implementation, context. Here's op. Okay, there's coroutine here. Okay, uses self. This is our wrapping around functions. This is a little bit needs to be changed. So results is none. valid return none. Auto def outputs. Okay, so auto def outputs equals true, so single output non-dict. Okay, so single output non-dict equals auto def outputs true if not. Okay, so single output. Okay, so support operation defined with one output via autodef or keyword argument. Okay, so single output. So if it's not autodefed, okay, so I'm actually going to name this dict output. We'll set dict output to true by default because that's what we currently have, and then we can slowly migrate. So dict output, so if dict output is true, and autodef outputs. So if dict output is true, so if dict output is set to true, we'll treat each one as their own. If it's set to false, output, let's see, so okay. All right, so what would be a good name for this thing? So basically, so multi-output. If multi-output is true, so if not, okay, so basically run this function. Function is not multi-output. Then whenever you get an output, I want you to name it whatever the one output value is. Okay. So multi-output. So if multi-output So if auto-def outputs multi-output equals false. Otherwise, so multi-output equals true. If auto-def output, so if we auto-define, then it's going to be false by default because they wouldn't have defined multiple outputs. If multi-output is false, is not, if not multi-output, then we do our conversion. Okay. Multi-output. Okay, so this thing, now if we were doing this in a more, yeah, so basically this is coming from the top level scope here. Okay. Data flow sticked. Chirper skit. Oh, so something ran. Let's go check it out. All right, so remap to response. Overlay. Okay, so processing data flow to dict. Okay, it got this thing that says outputs data flow as dict. Okay, okay. So we'll say multi output equals false. Okay, great. So now that multi-output equals false kicked in for us, did the same thing as, okay, so output equals false. Okay. Okay. All right, let's commit that stuff real quick. df base op multi. All right, so allow for, there's an issue for this. I'm not sure what it is. All right, so what was it? All right, let's see. Okay, support single op without auto defend IO. Okay, so we'll call it that. Fixes 1350. All right, great. So we found it. Okay. So failed to remap overlaid. Results do not contain data flow sticked. Processing data flow to dict. All right, now. Data flow as data flow definition. Okay, so we don't have any data flows that we're merging this with. So at a minimum, we need to merge with one flow, which is a blank flow, right? So basically this will ensure adding a blank flow ensures if there are no other overlays, we just end up merging with the input overlay with a blank overlay, resulting in the input data flow, resulting in the return of the original overlay or data flow. So we'll give that one another just data flow. Oops, that's a list. Okay, let's see data flow attribute items. So two dot items. Data flow dot definition. Okay, so merge. So one. Okay, so we go to merge. One is this. Two is this blank data flow. Okay, so what happened? It's mad and merged data flow. Object has no attribute items. Okay. Oh, because we're supposed to export it first. Okay, so this is where we were going to do this. So where we had a lambda. Okay. Uh, let's see, this is source. Or this is dest. And this is source. Okay. Okay. So what did we get? Merge and dispatch memory overlay default run dispatch key error operations. That's a new one. Associate.xy. Oh, operation key output operations. Key error operations. Okay. So here's line 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. You know, what we can do is we can just say python-m pdb 3. Okay. Okay, so we dropped into the debugger. Where are we? So we're in run operations for CTX, run operations for CTX, run operations for CTX. It looks like we're in remap. Okay, so main CLI do run overlay default run operations for CTS run no retry run remap run operations which is for CTX. So all right, let's just do some commits here. Make sure we clean things up. Okay, so typing auto convert new types into definitions. Okay, so input auto convert new typing dot new type to definition. Okay, this overlay stuff. So make the overlay methods async. So move into um, uh, base overlay file. High level, so this patch is high level overlay, call async methods, passing orchestrator. Actually, so overlay default. Hmm. That I think the apply will have to change. Okay. All right. Okay, so okay, so key error operations. Okay, so operation exception from exception. Operations missing from, oh, value operations missing from output definition mapping data flow to date. Twelve 41. Okay, so what happened here? So we tried to run dispatch and we found that the value operations missing from data flow to dict. Data flow to dict outputs. Multi-output equals false. Okay. Okay. So multi-output equals false. So if autodef outputs Outputs equals false. Multi-output. Okay, multi-output is false. And this is the overlay. And this is the, yeah, the Lambda implementation context. Oh, are they getting the same name? No, they shouldn't be getting the same name. They're getting an operation instance name defined. Let's do this though, just in case. Now we're getting the other. Yeah, okay, so merge data flow to dict implementation context false, merge true. Okay, so they were getting the same value there. Interesting. Data flow is dict. Outputs data flow is dict. Data flow is dict. Okay. So you can't auto-def the output if there's no return type information, lambda return type. And type in Python. Sort of. Okay, so that's not a true type hint. You can't type hint the lambdas then. That's a bummer. Okay. Multi-output false. Okay. Okay, so traverse get. Why are we in traverse get? Okay. So merge. Okay. Note. If these are, okay, so if op is called on a lambda, it will create a name of the same. So maybe we should just go through and actually say, maybe if we go diff base def op emp name def op, okay, name. Okay. Where's name? Okay, if not func name, okay. Okay. All right, so if name, okay, if name equals lambda, okay, I think we have to raise on this. So op.name must be given when lambdas are wrapped. Great. Okay, so prevent a name collision on lambda wrap. Okay, change. Okay, so processing merge. Okay, so now we ran this output operation, which is remap. It went in and it said, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's basically what it says. So this data flows dict is what we want. So what about that output operation? Oh, we never ran get single. Okay. Okay, so we grab get single, outputs overlaid. Okay, so hmm. Oh yeah, because get single. Okay, so then we need to say we need to modify this flow. Hmm. How do we modify the flow? Maybe if we call. Hmm. How do we modify the flow on the fly here? Okay. So we want to add another operation here. All right, so let's add an output stage operation. So uh, data flow from dict, right? And it will take the So multi-output equals false, and it produces data flow, which is of type dataflow dot definition, and we can just say dataflow from dict. Okay, so this input is, so we can say that it takes an input get from get single outputs operation get single get multi-config outputs output. Right, so we can say run the get single operation, right, to grab the flow, and then grab the output, treat it as this exported, right, and call this data flow, call this data flow dot from dict on the exported flow, right, which is the merged. Maybe let's call it merged. Oh, I almost had a heart attack. Okay. Okay, merged. Okay, so, and then we'll just tell remap that we actually want this other thing, which is dataflow to be overlaid. Does this use it anywhere? Dataflow to be overlaid. Okay, so overlaid dataflow. Dataflow to be overlaid. Dataflow after overlays applied. All right, so this is a new type. This is a type which represents after the data flows have been applied. And therefore we can go and we can grab it down here in our remap. Merged. Okay. So get single data flows dict. Okay, so it returned this thing. So then we went in data flows. Data flow after overlays applied. So get single. So we want to see get single run this data flow from dict stage output merged. So why didn't this thing get run? Input merged. Multi-output false. Data flows dict. Okay, so it contains this data flows dict, which should have gotten passed to this data flow from dict. Get single.opt.outputs. That looks right. So what does the serialized flow look like? So dfml service dev export, dfml.overlay.overlay, colon, DFL main package overlay. All right, here's the JSON. We can say DFML data flow diagram, and then it gives us a diagram, and then okay, so then we'll do that, and we'll pipe it through netcat. There it is. So what's that doing? It exported the data. Basically, every time the Python file changes, it's going to export the data flow. Okay, so what do we got? Why does it keep doing this? It keeps loading. All right, data flow. NodeMon APY exec. Okay. So this, I'm going to dump this to temp because this looks good. So let's dump it as YAML. Install the YAML config loader. Dump it as YAML. Okay. Okay, obviously not a lot of crazy stuff in there, so let's figure out why this diagram command is not working. Because I use this thing all the time, and I'm not sure why it's not working. This is very unhelpful. So we gotta go fix it. Okay, so what's going on here? Let's check out this data flow. Okay, so it's got all these git repo operations in it. So how did it get that? So this is the data flow that was exported. Wait, data flow is already pre-populated. Why is it pre-populated? Diagram config. Why does data flow? Diagram config. Oh, because. Oh. Oh, interesting. Okay. This is what happened. So, this does not create a proper subclass. So, and it's being loaded. So this is being loaded and it's actually changing diagram and setting the default data flow on diagram. So we should be doing a copy.deep copy in here, but we're not. We're not doing a copy.deep copy. Okay. Config. So we do a subclass, but we don't copy. It's very annoying to me that that modifies the parent class's value. This is a problem with using class data, with doubling up on data flows, data classes and stuff. So I think that if we did um, get at her data flow config. So this is like a copy. I think this code already went and found its merry way into other places, so that's not good. Quarters, it's still going. Yeah, it's got to be here. We forgot to update the plugins, so access to entities, entities Alice is not installed. Entities Alice needs a config literal config. Entity examples. Okay, so this has to become examples of entities. Supposed to become in. Okay, looks like we added intersection Alice there. So get the old version command. Didn't like that. Okay, so now does it pick up Alice? It picks up inner source. It doesn't pick up Alice. In fact, it dropped Alice entirely. Okay. Okay, but we know that those are now installed, so. Examples. Package names to directories. Find package equals name. So plugin type. If plugin type 9 examples. Entities. Okay. Fine. All right, we'll add inner source in. Inner source operations. Diff mal operations. Inner source. All right. Plugins. Add class. Add rules for entities. Let's see what we should do actually. Add class. All right, so what do we got? What do we got? Okay, so this thing. So this is still giving us trouble here. So this is creating, so what are we doing here? So data classes, fields, modify, set attr, key to modify fields, fields, okay. So you do copy, do copy. So if we don't do this, watch, it's not going to be a problem. Da, da. Works based on the output file name, guessing right now. Okay, there we go. So that's correct. See, so it is this. Watch, if you remove that continue statement, it blows up. There you go. So what's happening here? So field modifications, items, set attribute, key to modify value to use, fields, field. So this field, these fields that are coming from inner source class, config, which are just our copy of our serial commands with a different data flow spit in by default for the diagram command. The problem is that that's actually affecting the class variable for the diagram command. It's actually affecting, so the problem is when we create this new diagram command for the, what's basically the should I operations plus a little more for the inner source operations, then we end up, despite our copy deep copy on the base class, despite our copy deep copy on the base class, maybe it's because copy deep copy on the base. Copy deep copy on the base. Okay, what was I showing? I have to finish this. Okay. I'll copy deep copy on the base class. Default CLI data flow diagram. Okay, so this property, it's modifying this field object in this file. It's not creating a copy. It's not creating a copy at all, right? Because we're setting this default value to collector data flow, but that's not happening. This field this field value is getting set to this collector data flow, despite the fact that we're doing a copy deep copy on the parent class. So it's not actually creating properties of the copies of the class properties on the parent class, because if it was, so copy deep copy, why are you not doing that? You're deep copy. Wouldn't you do that by default? Okay, how do we take this and how do we do, okay, fields maybe? So what if we did fields? What if we do, so for now, perhaps we could do this, or we do the getter, right? So we create a copy of each field. So let's go ahead and create a copy. Of each field. So config original config. So this is the original config class. Original class config. All right, so this is the original class config. We go through each of the fields. We create a new one. Copy dot deep copy. Maybe we copy the field individually, right? Mapping proxy object. This is not good. Deep copy cannot reconstruct mapping proxy object. This we don't care about. Okay, so it's working now. But the other one is blowing up. Do we have a make config? We do have a make config. Hide config. Name. Fields. Cannot pickle mapping proxy. Copy deeper. Field. Field for field. Okay, so field. Modifications. All right, so we want to create a new field object. All right, so we're grabbing the docs. So field, default missing type, default factory, metadata. Replace. Okay, so we just want this replace. So field C1. Okay. Fields, fields, fields. Fuck. Okay. It does not like creating copy of data class fields. So we're just going to say printing all the fields. All right, I gotta go. I gotta take a break. Obviously something's not working here that should be working.